Welcome to Reach Minds, Thoughts for Your Life's Journey podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be exploring how a powerful inner drive combined with a dash of imagination, passion, and purpose can transform a space into a truly special place. I know this because I benefit very much from being part of that space, which combines love for food and wine and great company and a sense of community, which I don't think I have experienced anywhere else living where I'm living. And my guest today has created this amazing space where, as I said, she has brought in not only the love of food and wine and different ideas, also people coming from different walks of life. And this guest of mine is Suzy Nutt. Suzy is a brilliant mind behind Pulp, a vibrant cafe and a wine mart that has become a beloved hub for so many now. Suzy isn't just a successful entrepreneur, she's a creator who has built her own business on her own terms. Now, how many of us can say that? With a philosophy that resonates deeply, which is treat others how you want to be treated, serve what you want to be served. It's simple yet powerful. Along with this, Suzy's family background has provided her with the foundation and a driving force, so she tells me, to pursue things she felt most passionate about. Welcome, Suzy.
Hello, Nita. That's very nice. Thank you.
I'm really interested on the last bit, Suzy, which is about your family background. So tell us a little bit about what you mentioned to me when we were preparing for this, the unconventional family and how it fueled your creativity.
Yeah, I mean, obviously for me, it just seemed very normal. But as I've grown up, I've realized that not everyone's parents came from such different backgrounds and different views. And I'm one of four. So that created a certain level of chaos that was always fun and, always on the tip of our toes and kind of not sure what's going to happen. Both my parents are medical. As I said, I'm one of four. I grew up in the countryside and, both of my parents are very loving, kind, intelligent people that, allowed us lots of freedom. I mean, we grew up in this space where there was always an open conversation, open dialogue about actually most things. And it's interesting as an adult now looking back on that and actually being able to analyze it and say, wow, I got raised with science, rhyme and reason, cause and effect on one side. And then on the other side, very strong spiritual mother who had a very strong faith. But it was also fine for both of those things to coexist. And I think what's really amazing actually is when I think about my family and my upbringing and the environment in which we were all raised, although obviously it was very different, there's four children from the first to the fourth, things are different, time, finances, situation. But I think there was a really strong foundation that was kind of, it's okay and we'll figure it out and we'll figure it out together. And worst case scenario, we're all going to sit down around the dinner table and we're all going to scream and shout and then eventually come to whatever the conclusion needs to be and then kind of do it that way. So it's just a case of trial and error.
So is that how do you think Pulp as a hub grew for you? So tell me your thought of how you shaped Pulp.
Do you know what? I mean, I know we spoke about it before. I feel not uncomfortable, but quite shy or coy, or I don't know, like talking about Pulp as though it's mine, because obviously I know it is mine and I know it's, ultimately I'm the one that makes a decision and has to deal with the consequences of that decision, the good and the bad. But it does feel, or rather, I don't feel like I'm not solely responsible. I wouldn't be anywhere if it wasn't for my family, my partner, my parents, my partner, my other half, even my son, all these different things. And I think one of the reasons Pulp is so wonderful is because the people that work with me, I give them a lot of freedom to feel like they're part of it as well. I think in that, we are all this kind of unit. At times, it doesn't always work, and we argue and we fight, and we have to sit down, and then I have to come and tell everyone, no, shut up, we're not doing that. But there's also a lot of times where it's like, no, okay, let's create a space where we can all talk and explore and listen and be heard. And I think that I think that's why it's so appealing to people, because there are all these different elements and these different components and these different people and backgrounds and experiences. And I think it would feel very inappropriate, unfair to be like, oh yeah, this is all just me. None of it's just me. It's everyone. It's all the different things that created me, as well as all the other things that created everyone else, that have all come together at this time. And I think even just starting Pulp was a combination of COVID, me and my other half trying to make the best of a really terrible situation and working incredibly hard. You know, when other people were taking their furlough and their loans from the government, and we were like, we've got to work. What we're going to do, just sit at home and do nothing? No, no, no. We're going to do it. And also, it was an opportunity for us to come together and work together. And that was really, really amazing, actually, for us as a couple and a family, and also as a community, because it got to the point in COVID where once a week we'd be sending out emails with lists of like menu items, deli items, baked goods we were going to make. And we'd have people queuing up literally round the block for their click and collects. And people would come to me and say, you know, we're literally waiting for your next email so that we can prepare our week. And that's given us hope.
That's fantastic, though, isn't it? I mean, it's to create that and have that impact in a community
it is amazing. Yeah. But I think the community need, like, I guess I could have done this somewhere else and it might not have worked. All these elements have to come together. I mean, if you want to be spiritual about it, like all the stars have to align. But it just so happened that this was like the right time, the right space, the right place, and you know, everyone else kind of wanted it as well.
But you do have a following, don't you? You do sort of, if you think about COVID near 3 years on, you do have a following because I know because when
You're
I
one of them.
go sometime, I am one of them, yes. But when I go sometimes, I'm going, why are there so many people here?
It's amazing. It's
And the demographics are so variable for
I know.
me. There could be people with dogs, or there could be young runners, or even sort of senior runners who could
Yeah.
be in your space. And I wonder whether you pinch yourself sometime and you go, oh, how did we create this? I can what I hear you saying is you are a leader. Conceptually, you and your partner created this. However, you're behind it. You're behind that. So, in a sense, for me, you're a leader who leads from the front, leads together, and leads from behind. The bottom line stops with you.
Yeah,
And you're
always.
willing to have that hard conversation with
Yeah.
people if things aren't, I know because I've seen it myself.
Do you know what? I do always check myself though, and afterwards, I will come in, I'll say to the guys, like, X, Y, and Z has to be done. Like that's a fact. But I
Yeah,
would also say thank you for everything you do. Like my team know that I'm transparent, and I will come in and I will praise them all day, all night. I will repay them. Like obviously they get paid, and they get paid pretty well. But like there's also all the other lovely things. Like we'll go out as a team, we'll have parties, celebrations, like we'll treat them to things. I'll treat them to lunches, dinners, whatever. But with that comes having to be really clear. And it's like, okay, well, if something isn't right, something's not right. And I do have really high standards, and I do expect, like, my expectations are high, but they're incredibly high on myself. I mean, like, I'm incredibly self-critical. I will break everything down, and I will analyze, and I will think, and I will process. And if something isn't right, I won't just stick to my guns and be like, no, 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 I had this idea. I will change it until it's right. And I
right.
will keep adapting and changing, because like everything's growth, isn't it? I mean, I think that might also be part of why Pulp's interesting for people, is because it's this constant evolution. And it is even like, seasonally, whether it's like the seating situation, because we are limited by our space, we have to adapt to the weather, whether it's the seasons and like the food that we can produce, whether it's different wines changing, whether it's, like this place feeds off everything. I think that's probably why it's so interesting, because that you could come here at Christmas and it's going to feel very different to coming here in the summer. And, throughout the seasons, it's going to change. And it's a live thing. It's like a live little piece of art or something.
Well, it is art because you got a lot of stuff in there. I think you're being quite modest, actually. I think there is there is art in there. There's care in there. There's luxury items in there, and they're beautiful items, and it's constantly evolving. And you're right, because I experienced that. And what I'm kind of interested in is kind of your journey. We talked a little bit about your family, and I know we also talked about your mantra of be calm and unafraid. Tell me,
Yes.
where did that come from for you?
Oh, Nita, you just want me to tell everyone else. So years and years and years ago, I was off traveling around South America, and I'd actually, God, honestly, it was kind of before South America was such an accessible place. There was lots of bus journeys and difficult, weird trips and traveling, but I literally did pretty much the whole of the continent. I had heard that I can take a boat, a cargo boat, up part of the Amazon. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I should try that. So I traveled through the jungle and found this little port and bought a crappy little hammock, slept next to a monkey for like 4 days. And this boat was basically, it was this cargo boat was going up the Amazon, and it was like delivering everything to villages that don't have any roads or any car access at all. Everything was on this boat. It was like a big, old, rusty cargo boat. And like we literally had to walk like a little thin plank to get onto it. And it was kind of hairy. Things like ice. There was like these huge blocks of ice that were being delivered to villages that were like, the size of half the shop, and they were kind of creating it was amazing. Some livestock. Anyway, on this boat, there were like there must have been hundreds of like items, but it also kind of was docking in these odd places. So you'd wake up and all of a sudden there'd be this like influx of people from this one village, and they were traveling up the river to the next like dock, and then they'd all just disappear. And it was about a week. And during that time, there was, I think, 3 other Europeans, an Italian and an English guy that I met. Other than that, it was just locals from like the Amazon, South America. One guy told me about ayahuasca, and I was like, oh, okay, that sounds kind of cool. Like that's interesting. And he told me about the philosophy of it. And interestingly, because of what my dad does as well, when I came back and I discussed it with him, there was like this huge, I didn't realize what a huge thing it was in terms of like these ceremonies and shaman and like these natural, obviously there's lots of natural medicines, but this was like after DMT. This is like the big bad boy. So I got told about this shaman in the Amazon. I think it was the Peruvian or the Colombian. It was the top Peru. So we went all the way up to a place called Iquitos, and then I managed through some crappy B&B to find someone that could put me in touch with someone else. And anyway, so we start getting on a tuk-tuk, going into the Amazon, and this guy was like, "Oh, have you got any torches?" And it was like, "No, I haven't got a torch." "Oh, yeah, I do have a torch. Yeah, what do you need a torch for?" Because my lights don't work. So it's like, it's nighttime. I'm on some tuk-tuk going into the
Wow.
Amazon. And the guy was like, "Have you got a torch?" So I'm like holding this torch up, and I'm like, okay, I hope this is a good idea. And I remember being like, do you know what? Just be calm and unafraid. Like, what? I might be an absolute loser, idiot who would do such a stupid thing. How could you be so reckless? But I struggle with fear in that I don't really have so much of it. And I just think, do you know what? Why not me? Why not have a go? Why not try? Someone has to fly to the moon. Someone has to open a shop. Someone has to get on a tuk-tuk and take ayahuasca and find their way through the Amazon with a torch. I remember it was like, just be calm and unafraid. And so I'm in the middle of this ceremony. It also so happens that this ceremony was happening with the shaman. So we're like in this shack have you ever done ayahuasca? Do you know about the ceremonies? Do you know about this stuff? Okay.
No, I don't. No.
So it's a medicine, it's a plant medicine, and it's administered by a shaman in a ceremony. It's very like spiritual, it's very ritualistic. There's like a lot of music involved. You've got this one shaman who's kind of using different drums and leaves and different things. And he rolls these like cigarettes that are just tobacco, like pure tobacco. And it's kind of it's really rural. It's proper jungle life. And so we're sitting and you drink this medicine, and it's kind of like in this cup, like this chalice, and he serves each of us. And it's this thick, gloopy, almost Marmite-esque black, like tarry liquid. You drink it, and then you go through this really incredible experience of honestly life-changing. Absolutely, it makes you light. It makes you think, do you know what? Be calm and unafraid. Like, what can I not deal with? What can I not encounter? I think as long as you've got some peace and some grace, you can probably deal with anything. But I was here in this ceremony, and there was also happened to be a thunderstorm happening. So there's this thunderstorm, there's lightning, and there's palm tree, it's in a jungle. And I was just like, wow. And that is when my little mantra came to me, and I try to remember it as best I can, whenever I can. And it's usually just chill out and work. I think there's nothing that you can't achieve if you just chill and work hard. It's kind of generally.
Actually, it gives me goose pimples listening to your story, because you've elaborated it quite a lot since our first
Yeah.
conversation. And where I'm curious is, how long ago was this experience you had?
When was this? I must have been 20. So I'm 35. So I must have been like 20, 22, 22, 23. I'd finished university. I'd gone and worked really hard and saved a lot of cash up and then been like, right, I'm going to get a ticket and I'm going to go and travel and see some stuff. But it's always stayed with me because
I can hear it and feel it.
it's honestly, I remember after this ceremony was complete, and it's all about kind of spirits and strong spirituality, but also kind of the things that live within us and about freeing them. And actually, my sister, when I first opened the bar, so because I've been here now for 9 years, right, and I think it was one of the first nights we kind of stayed behind, had a glass of wine once everything had shut, and my younger sister was there. She goes, Susie, do you know what? You need to learn fear because you don't fear things. And I think all like talking about it now, I don't think I ever like put everything together, but I just don't know why it can't be me. Why can't it be anyone? Like, I don't know why. I mean, obviously terrible things happen, and I'm very lucky that I've had such a lovely, comfortable life. I have a great family, I've got great friends, I've got a lovely support network. But I mean, yeah, I don't think I'm any different to anyone else, and I don't think anyone else is different to me. And I don't know why we can't just try stuff and see how it goes. And that for me has always been a thing. But also, I think that comes from so my dad is, I mean, like he's literally like the world's leading specialist in neuropsychopharmacology. Like he lectures governments and goes to, like he travels the world advising everyone around the world on lots of very clever things. But he grew up on a council estate in Bristol, in a really grubby part of Bristol. And, he went to Cambridge and Oxford and PhDs. The man's got smarts. And I think being raised by someone that didn't let their environment stop them from achieving what they wanted to achieve. And also my mum as well, she was very headstrong and like, this was right, this was wrong, this is what I'm going to do. I mean, why would you not try and achieve everything you would want to achieve and just give stuff a go? It's better to try and to fail than to sit at home thinking, oh, I should have done this, or should I? It's just like you and your podcast. It's like you have to try, you have to do it. Like otherwise you're not going to feel fulfilled creatively, and it could, lead to so many things. And I think it's nice to have that freedom to explore stuff.
What I hear you saying is don't let your past or don't let your circumstances define you. And I think I also hear you saying is that have a go. And if you fail, then I guess we are all resourceful. We can pick ourselves up and have another go at it. And I think you embody that. You may not recognize it. I think you do embody that there isn't anything you can't do as long as you're willing to have a go at it. It's not even trying. It's actually you're saying, I'm going to have a go at this. And in that, in itself, I think from what I'm hearing makes you fearless because so what? What can happen in its entirety? So I wonder if a young person came to you, one of your individuals who work with you and said, Susie, I really want to do this.
Mhm.
What piece of wisdom do you think? Because you have lots of wisdom,
Hmm.
interconnected,
Thanks.
and you have, trust me. What would you say to them, do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, it does come up. It happens frequently. I mean, like there's a lot. I think another thing that's noticeable about the shop is that our staff stick around for a really long time. Our team is like a unit. It's a real family. It's really connected. And a lot of those people are artists and, whether it's music or theatre or dance or lots of different things. And I have sat down with a lot of them at many different times. And these young people that are overflowing with creativity, but also so restricted by, the frustrating situation that they're in because, they live in London and, the creative worlds aren't easy to access. And honestly, firstly, I do whatever I can to support them. And it's like, whether it's, rearranging schedules or time shifts or giving them something to explore within the business as well, whether it's an event or something creative that they can kind of feel that they're still doing stuff and not just kind of working in a coffee shop, but just to try, just to think, why not you? Why shouldn't you be the one that does that? Why shouldn't you be the person that achieves that thing or goes out there? But sitting and talking about it is good, but there comes a point where you just have to do it, and you have to be free to be vulnerable. You have to be willing to expose yourself and stand up or try and talk yourself into some situation where you may not succeed, or you may look the fool, or you may feel uncomfortable. people, and it just doesn't matter. Ultimately, who cares what someone else thinks of you? Who cares whether someone thinks you're foolish or silly? Or, I mean, like, we're all just people. Literally, we're just people. And why shouldn't it be you? My advice is always just do it. And also bring me an idea and we can try and make that happen.
Where did the ideas come from for generating this? I think they're fairly innovative and almost high end in the context of Ealing.
Yeah, I maybe they are high end. Do you know what? I like to think that anyone that comes in here, whether it's to spend £3 on a coffee or £80 on a bottle of wine, I think they should get treated the same. I think if someone's coming in here to buy a gift and they can only afford £15, they should still get it wrapped and they should still feel good about it. The same way if someone's coming in and spending £200. For me, I've always wanted to just create a space that I would want to come to. I think I am a creative person. I always have been. My whole family are. I also have to make money. I also need to, pay my mortgage and feed my kid. Like there has to, it can't just be frivolous. There
No,
needs to be like there are things that I would love to carry on doing, but actually, do you know what? There's that fine line, there's that like payoff, and it's like, okay, how creative can I be? How useful is it? How rewarding is it financially? How rewarding is it kind of emotionally as well? Because I mean, I don't need a vanity project. I also don't need my ego boosting. Like there's things I could do and people would be like, I know that it would get a certain response, but I don't feel the need for people to I don't like it just doesn't matter to me. But there is that kind of sweet spot between creative, financial, emotional, resourceful, useful, like all these different things. But also I don't have all the answers, so you have to keep trying. I think that's why. But also, like I said, like I would just like to come here. I'd love to be a customer here. Sometimes Pan and I will like come in an evening and we'll try and be in like the corner behind a plant and we'll look around. It's like, God, it's so nice. Or I'll come in the morning and do a little bit of work and it's like, oh, it's so nice. Even go down to Pans at Paperback and I'll sit there and I'm just like, oh, it's so nice. I mean, yeah, we work really hard, but we're so lucky that we've kind of got such nice spaces and it is just somewhere I'd
absolutely.
like to be. Yeah, just somewhere I'd like
Abs-
to be.
Absolutely. And I think, Susie, if you read any of the sort of management leadership books, you would recognize yourself in there.
Do you know what? I remember having a boss and I was working in this amazing, like seriously beautiful kind of like private cocktail members club. And it was this huge Victorian building down in Bristol, which is where I'm from. I'd kind of host it and it was amazing. And it was the sort of place where even when I was working, I'd be wearing a cocktail dress every night because it was glam. It was fabulous. And obviously though, at the end of a night, it's 3 o'clock in the morning and I'd be there in my cocktail dress and I'd still be rubbing the mats and I'd be doing the bins and I'd be cleaning everything down. So like I know how to work hard. But the reason I mention it is because there was I remember my boss, and this guy, I mean, he had multiple amazing establishments, businesses, and he would still be there, like polishing glasses with me. And I'm thinking, God, this guy doesn't need to do this. This guy could just come in and order me around. He can just tell me what to do and I'll do it. I'll do whatever. Like I'm working. This is my job. I'll do what needs to be done. I remember him trying to help me. And I remember thinking, God, you know what? I really hope that the way it's such a small thing, but the humility he had, it's like, do you know what? I will come in and I will make sure that I work and I do the shitty jobs and whether it's the bins or the toilet or whatever, like the gross jobs, just the same as everyone else will. And I think I also like to think that hopefully then when other people are going on to do other stuff, no one's going to last forever. Like no one's going to be here forever. Everyone wants to go and do their own thing. And I fully support that actually they'll go and hopefully they'll be like, do you know what? I had a boss that used to come in and she didn't used to just bark orders at us, that actually she helped me and I want to go and I want to then help the people that work with me because it's about all of our lives kind of going forward and it's all that journey.
I think there's a lot of stuff that you say in here. I think my sense is you need to own it,
Yeah,
Susie.
maybe.
It's about, as I'm saying, is if someone was to hear this podcast, and I'm sure when they will, they would recognize an individual who has clarity, who has leadership, and who's willing to muck in, is not a standoffish. You're in there in the weeds when you
Mm,
need to be, and you also step back when you don't have to be. And it's also about, I think what I would boil it down to is connection.
mm-hmm,
There's a connection that you've
mm,
created with the environment you have at Pulp. And And the force within it, I think, through the people who work there and the customers who come there, brings everything together.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. But I think that's because we are all connected. And I think, do you know, I mean, I think I like to lower the bar. If I lower people's expectations of me, Nita, then I can then the rise is even greater. It's
Because
funny. I mean, look, I've never done any business. I mean, I don't have a business background. I don't have any family in business. I've never, but actually both my parents are leaders though. It's interesting you say this. So like my mum was, a ward sister at the age of like 21 or something. Like she just was brilliant at that. She knew how to look after people and look after them well. And my dad is obviously I mean, he leads everything, whether it's, head of research at Imperial or, government advice, that's what he does, charities and stuff. But
mm,
yes, so maybe inadvertently, although it wasn't business related or orientated, it's kind of, there is an element of knowing how to kind of bring people on the journey with you. But it's about being boundaried as well, because there are people that take advantage and try and push it. And I think
mm.
that's tough. That's actually really tough. That's probably what I find the hardest. It's easy to go and clean up or do a 12-hour shift in comparison to having to be firm and boundary with people that are trying to push. That I find harder.
What to do that?
Yeah, I find that really hard because ultimately
Mm.
I'm a people pleaser. I'm like middle child, people pleasing. I'm like textbook third kid out of four. I'm like head down, get on with it, but also don't want to rock the boat. Just want to kind of do my thing and just kind of keep everyone happy and try and appease everyone. Um, and yeah, so then when I have to deal with like actually being serious and actually being really firm and direct and clear, that's not when I struggle now, but that's what I've struggled with the most. And
Yeah.
that's what I've had to practice and learn the most over the last, throughout my life.
Yeah. And we're all learning as we kind of go
Mm.
along. So finally, where do you think Pulp is? What's your next? What's on next on the horizon for Pulp, do you think?
Ah, that's a big question because I'd love to do more. No, I will do more. Yeah, I'll open another shop. I'll do more. My plan is to streamline. I want the foundations to be really strong. I want the foundations to be really strong, really coherent, really clear. And then I feel like from there, I can keep building. So I think once this is kind of really clear cut, then yeah, maybe a little Pulp 2, Pulp 3, maybe. I don't know.
Well, it's a vision, isn't it?
I like the challenge. And also I think I can do it. But like I said, like I just think I need it to be right. I think for me, with most of the things I've ever done in my life, it's less about what should be done. It's about what feels like the right thing to do.
Mm.
And I think you like use, hopefully with integrity and with kind of clarity and decency, like being able to then go on and like try and do more things. But it's hard. I mean, honestly, it's hard. Like it's hard running one. I've got a kid. I've got a partner who also has his own business. Like we're constantly juggling, but I just think I can do it. So I think I should try.
I think you ought to do it, not even try.
Yeah.
Get past the try bit.
Yeah.
Susie, thank you so much for allowing me in your world. And
You. Thanks for
and
listening.
I no. I just loved hearing your story because it is a story and it's a powerful one that I'm sure for lots of people it would resonate for them. So thank you so much. If you're interested in working with me, connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, or www.nitasharma.com. And if you enjoyed the podcast, why not consider subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you have access to your podcast, and leave a review.